It was a beautiful day. It's a really beautiful ride. You know, there's kangaroos and there's rainforest, and it was lovely. And then we're on our way home from there.
And that's all Miley Campbell can remember of that day a year ago.
I have no recollection from then until later that night after I'd been in an emergency for quite a few hours.
Riding ahead of her, Miley's mate, Clint, thought the worst.
You know, it was pretty scary that day because I thought, you know, you weren't coming back.
You didn't think I was going to come back?
No, I thought I lost you.
I'm here to tell the story.
Yeah.
Miley recalls being surrounded by familiar faces at Gold Coast University Hospital, where she's an emergency nurse.
It was scary. Originally, I was having horrible memory loss. I couldn't for the life of me remember what I was doing a minute prior.
Her colleagues were surprised to see Miley as a patient.
You read the name and you think, Miley, it can't be, you know, and then of course our team said, yes, it is Miley, and I went up to see her, and sure enough, there she was lying in the bed, and, you know, it's a shock seeing one of your own there.
Miley spent 5 days in hospital undergoing scans and tests for a traumatic brain injury.
It was scary because I didn't know if I was ever going to be normal again. If I don't have my cognitive ability, then I'm not able to care for anyone. So that scared me in the fact that I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to nurse again.
But it could have been much worse. At the time, Miley was wearing a helmet and had stuck to Queensland's speed limit for scooters of 25 kilometres an hour.
The helmets, flimsy as they might seem, they are very protective. And I know a lot of people are out there riding e-scooters without any protective gear.
I think that's the biggest take-home message for me from it, and the biggest thing I've learnt. If I wasn't wearing that helmet, I don't think I'd be here to tell the story. Either I'd be a vegetable or I wouldn't be able to speak or walk or talk.
Gold Coast University Hospital has seen an increase in injuries as e-scooters become more popular.
We've seen the full remit from sort of minor injuries, broken wrists, ankles, to really quite severe injuries, just like any major trauma and a significant car accident. And in some age groups that can lead to death and lethal injuries or long-term disability and impairments.
But e-scooters aren't just popular in surfers' paradise. Further north in Brisbane, they're everywhere.
They're becoming ubiquitous, really. They're just another method of travel. You go to a bike path, Bicentennial Bikeway down here in Brisbane, and you'll see a scooter for almost every bike.
In a recent operation, Queensland Police targeted the misuse of e-scooters on city streets.
We issued over 300 infringement notices. We had 5 people end up going to court as well. Most of the offences were to do with not wearing a helmet. Otherwise, it was more commonly to do with exceeding a 25km/h speed limit.
Sergeant Hill says Queensland Police aren't against the use of e-scooters, but want to see people using them responsibly. Other states are more restrictive than Queensland, with e-scooters still completely banned in New South Wales and limited trials underway in Tasmania, Adelaide and Melbourne. But they're still sold in shops, and some riders still end up in hospital, particularly if they haven't been wearing a helmet.
You might feel like a bit of a dork riding around like that, and you might be a bit hot, but it's much more dorky sitting in a aged care facility at a young age, dribbling into your cornflakes and unable to speak.
Miley's journey back to full health was a long one. She had 4 months off work.
I cried a lot. I cried especially in the first 3 months, just trying to find words. I'd cry because I couldn't get across the message I was trying to talk about.
Miley even struggled with reading.
I could read the words, but I couldn't make sense of what they meant.
It took 9 months of intensive therapy before she could return to work full-time. And after her near-death experience, she feels strongly about getting the safety message to everyone.
When I'm out and about walking and I see people going past you quite fast on their scooters or bikes and they're not wearing helmets, I get really frustrated. Sometimes I, have a word, yell out, "Put a helmet on!" So it's scary that they don't understand the repercussions that can come from coming off it and hitting your head. A small knock to the head can be even a pretty dangerous thing.
You can buy an e-scooter in New South Wales, but you can't ride it on the road, and you can't ride it on any bike paths currently. It's illegal to ride it anywhere but on private property or in a bike park. So the laws in the country are just completely different everywhere you go. Helmets surely are just, you must wear helmets.
Oh, I feel for the family of the 15-year-old boy. I mean, they're so appealing to teenagers. I have a teenager who every time he sees one, he's like, they look fun and they're everywhere, so they look like they'd be safe and fun. And
I've got a teenager that uses them, and it's partly because it's a really convenient. It's not just safe and fun, it's not just fun. It's convenient.
Yeah.
They can't drive or whatever. the trains don't go exactly where they want to go, or the trams or whatever, so they go, well, this is perfect, it takes me...
But how tough are you on them about not being on the road or in the wrong place or on a footpath?
To be fair, I haven't given a great deal of thought. That's the honest truth. Because I don't think it is... Well, it's not top of mind for me, obviously, and I don't know how many people it would be top of mind for. The helmet thing's important, but at the same time, that undercuts the convenience factor. The whole point is you come across it and you ride it. So that's why I think it needs to be trialled properly. Transport for New South Wales have announced they will enable a trial of hired e-scooters. The City of Sydney, however, has ruled out taking part, citing the safety and congestion concerns.